I'm just going to make a note of which side it's going to, and I'm going to make sure I position myself in the right place. Ideally, you want to do this around 5 or 6 times to really get an idea where your dog takes the item. And this is a really nice one to open with a dog that's just been introduced to retrieving. Okay, so without getting the dog to do anything, go get it. We're not encouraging the dog to stay or to stay where it is. And the idea, so it's going over to the right of me. Okay, so it brings a toy over here. So if we did this, and we repeat this several times, on the 5th, 6th time, what I'd actually do is throw the item again in the same place, look at it, and then I'd come over to this part where the dog's been happier to bring it, and it comes straight into where I want it to be. And that way then, we've got the dog, loads of affection, we've got the dog happy to bring a retrieve to you. It's one of the hardest things to get right, and it's one of the nicest techniques to try out with a dog, because once you've allowed the dog through running a few times, it's killing off a bit of energy, but also then if it's going off to a certain area where it's comfortable taking it, if you're in that area and you're giving the dog loads of affection without touching the reward or the retrieve item, you'll actually find that the dog's happy to share it with you, or it's happier. Okay? Next one that we're doing is called the 2-toy game. So we get the dog to run in after a toy, and we have 2 identical toys. So we get them to run in after one toy, and then we coax the dog back to us using the other toy, and then we ask, with a little bit of affection, we ask for that toy back. And that way then we're using the other toy to show that we're getting compliance with the dog, and the dog's getting to play with us, and we've both got toys to play with. The other option that you can do with 2 toys is get them to go for the first one, and you'll find with some dogs they'll go for one and won't bring it back. So you can actually play with the toy that you've got to encourage the dog to come back. So I'll just show you again. And as the dog comes back to you, encourage the dog to come back to you, and you're playing, and then either have fun with the dog or offer this toy, and normally the dog will give up the other toy. Okay? So that's the 2-toy technique for the retrieve. And it's just something that's ideal for a dog that maybe wouldn't come back to you with a toy, because suddenly now you become more interesting because you've got the toy there to help them. Again, if you notice all these techniques that we're doing are all off lead. If you're going to be doing it outside or somewhere that's a little bit less safe, then obviously use a long line, and you just use it to make sure the dog doesn't run off. But really the best thing with the retrieving is to make sure that the dog's got freedom of play, and that's what we're after. So that's the 2-toy technique. This is training your dog using food. So there's 2 methods of using that, using food. You can either buy or use an item what you can store food inside and get the dog to retrieve it, and then ask the dog to come back, and you unzip or you unclip, and you can give the dog a piece of food from the item that it's retrieved. The problem with that is that most dogs will go and get it and won't bring it back because it smells the food, it's too good. So the idea with using the food, what I prefer, is that the dog runs in and gets the item, and this is ideal for a dog that maybe won't give up an item quite readily. It goes in, gets the item, and when it comes back to you, you're just going to offer it a piece of food, and the dog should drop the toy or drops the item in your hand or on the floor. And it's just getting that exercise in and out there. Okay, so we'll start again. So as the dog goes and gets it, I get a piece of food out. You can see I've got a piece of food. Put it near the dog's nose, and you can get the toy. And you'll see as we progress with this, you can see as this progresses, you might find that the dog drops the toy earlier. And then what we can do, we can actually shape the behaviour, and as the dog goes out, you can shape it where the dog gives it to the hand. So you see it dropping a little bit earlier there. So what we can do just to help that, if we're wanting to shape the behaviour, is just something that's common with using treats. Dogs tend to drop early. We get the dog to go and get it. And as the dog comes towards us, have a treat behind our backs, and then step forwards and get the treat. This is the clicker training, and what we're trying to do is try to reverse chain a retrieve. So we're starting off with wanting the dog just to hold the item, the retrieve item. So we're going to ask the dog to hold. You can say fetch. I would actually say get it or fetch or whatever you're going to normally say to your dog when you want it to retrieve. But people can use whatever words they want. So we'll just want the dog just to hold it. So I'm just going to ask the dog to hold. Hold. And then just take it out of the dog's mouth and give it a treat. You notice I didn't actually let go. Okay? And then we're just going to do the same again. So get the dog's attention. Guinness. 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 What's this? Oh, good boy. What's this? Come on. What's this? Come on. Ready? Ready? Hold. So now we're just letting him hold it by himself. And then we're doing it again. See if we can get the duration a bit more. Hold. Okay. And if you notice, I'm not touching his chin or anything like that, but I am waiting for him just to drop it. And after a while, you can get him just to hold it for a longer period of time. Once you're quite happy that the dog understands the hold, what you'll actually do then is you'll throw the item out, and then you'll just point to the item and say hold, and the dog should go and get it. So let's just see if that works. Okay? Hold. The dog brings it back to you, and you get a reward for it. And if you notice, I'm not after any presentation, I'm not after the dog sitting, I'm not after the dog doing anything other than bringing the item back to me. So that's using the clicker. What we can do then is we can do a formal retrieve and get the dog working a little bit more on the impulse control of the dog. So let's sit down. And what we do is we just step in front of the dog slightly and show with the hand that we're wanting the dog to stay. We throw the item out, and then we step back, and then with the leg forward we send the dog in. Go get it. And we ask the dog to come to us. And when they come to us, don't forget loads of affection. Give them loads of affection, and then ask for the toy. Okay? That's it. So you'll realise that a lot of the training that we're doing is actually off-lead training. The reason why is because I'm wanting the dog to enjoy the retrieving. And if you use a lead, even if you're going to use a bit of guided learning, really you're going to find that if you use a lead ineffectively or at the wrong time, you're going to find that it doesn't become as much play. So if you notice, all these techniques that I'm showing are all designed to the least amount of stress for the dog, because I understand kennel dogs suffer from the stresses of being in kennels every day, and also really just try to get that play time, get that emotional state of play going with the dog, and you can't really do that with a lead in my view. We can always put later on control work in for owners who want to put a bit more control for the retrieving, just like we did at the end of exercise. But the first part is, if you don't get the dogs enjoying the retrieve, you're not going to be able to put the control in later, because you won't get the retrieve to put the control in, so it makes sense. And that's it. Thank you very much.